Morning to one and all present over here. I would like to welcome you all for the second session. So today we have our speaker, Dr. S. Prakash. He's going to deliver a talk on machine learning in CCDN, a case study on entertainment industry. Dr. Prakash S. is a past chairman of Computer Society of India, Bangalore chapter, and was member of Karnataka Chamber of Commerce, Department of ITBT, Bangalore. Currently, he is working as Executive Director, Engineering for Chandigarh University, Chandigarh. He was principal for past East Point College of Engineering and Technology, Bengaluru. Dr. Prakash has 25 years of experience in training and development, education management, IT infrastructure management, both in academia and in IT training industry. He was instrumental in bridging industry and academia at CSI. He was chief editor for CSI Adyan magazine for the year 2017-18. Dr. Prakash is recipient of the following awards: Outstanding Educationalist for the contribution in technical training of youth of Karnataka, conferred by the Icon Indian Business Awards 2019. Best Educator Award from Salesforce, world's #1 CRM company. VMware Educator Excellence Award from VMware, and he is also a recipient of EMC Academic Excellence Award for his past 5 years of consistent service in evangelizing third platform technologies like cloud computing, big data, and Internet of Things. He is a BOS and BOE member for CSE department at different autonomous institutions. He is a career advisor on LinkedIn platform. His research area is on mobile communications, cloud computing, and big data. He has published many papers in international journals and conferences. One of his research papers got awarded as the best paper in IEEE International Conference. We are happy to have you here, sir. It's a great pleasure to have him with us today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Please confirm whether my slides are getting once. Madam, my slides are visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
I am also visible on the screen?
No, sir.
This is a challenge. Yesterday I checked it out.
So while sharing, you have an option presenter mode. Once you click the sharing, it will show you a presenter mode, where you can choose the second option.
No, it is showing me either desktop or window.
Yes, sir. Above that, you have a presenter mode. That is for contents. You have a presenter mode. It's okay, sir. If you are unable to do it, you can start with the presentation.
No, I want to. Okay, let me stop sharing first.
So I have sent to your WhatsApp how the screen looks. You just look into that?
Madam, I have not got anything in the WhatsApp.
I have sent the screenshot, sir, how it looks, where you have to choose the option.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not able to put both the things. Yesterday, even I tried with, I
Okay,
had
sir.
this
Sir, no problem.
now.
Your screen is visible,
Uh,
sir. Just
my screen visible. Okay, fine. Uh, Stop sharing.
you, but your voice is breaking, sir.
My watch is breaking.
Yeah,
Now, madam.
yeah. Now it is fine, sir.
I don't know why it is. Okay. My screens are visible now.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Control. Okay, madam, you control. I think presenting. Yeah, fine. Okay, leave it. I don't know. I'm not able to switch on to the. When I'm stop presenting, my camera will get on.
Yeah,
But when
yeah,
I'm
sir. Correct.
presenting, I think camera is not getting on.
It's okay, sir. No
Uh,
problem, sir.
okay, fine. Uh, Fine, thank you. Good morning, dear friends, all the participants. Thanks for the organizers for giving me this opportunity to deliver a talk on specifically on CDN cloud-based content delivery network. I'll take the case study of Netflix. In fact, the complete process of my presentation will work on how Netflix at the back end works on technology platform. Everyone would have viewed Netflix and even myself, I became a fan of the way the video gets streamed on Netflix. But as a technocrat, we never understood what's the technology behind this. And when Netflix moved their complete application on Amazon Web Services, being the major competitor like Amazon Prime, why did they move their complete infrastructure onto the cloud? This is what complete my objectives will go on. And Full screen is visible. Someone can confirm me. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Uh, so I will look into what exactly the entertainment industry, how it took over. Then we will see about what is the current strength in the entertainment industry. Uh, we'll also look what is the technology behind today OTT streaming. Today, if you see the way the Netflix or Amazon Prime gets streamed out to our different devices, which are running on different platforms at different resolutions. What are the challenges? How it has been streamed on the cloud? So I speak about CDN, content delivery networks. I'll speak about how exactly content delivery network moves into the cloud-based content delivery network. I will keep on telling about the case study of Netflix, how Netflix delivers or streams the 4K video to all the end users which are running under different streams. For example, one device which is running on high-end resolution, and another device which could be on Windows platform, someone in the iOS platform, someone in the Android platform. How basically it matches and what is the backend technology to stream the complete data. Okay, I'll also speak about what are the applications basically in used and the software used by Netflix to stream this complete data. At last, we'll make some conclusions. I'll also speak about how basically uh, uh, machine learning is being used at different stages when Netflix actually streams this data, how it recommends certain videos, how it will actually recommend certain thumbnails. This is what the complete in one and a half hour. I'll try to cover all those things here. I don't want to just, we already wasted on 5-10 minutes because of certain technical issues. I'll speak about the evolution of the entertainment system. In fact, if you see the way the ancestors, very long time, we used to people write on certain communication that is to entertainment should happen on the caves. And the movie started without any voice. Now, these are few things what we already seen in the market. And in fact, this was the first camera link between the speakers and the listeners. And the narrator has to have a very clarity in explanations. So in fact, someone would have watched Charlie Chaplin movie at long back, a black and white movie. Moreover, it was based on the actions. Why I'm taking this complete thing is like where we are moved today. And if you see certain somewhere it flickering of 50 to 80 hertz was the first story what it happened. And if you see the audio visual media that was happening up, these are the few evolutions that happened in our entertainment industry. And biggest change that happened was the way the technical advances that happened in the TV. We started with CRTs, we started with LCD, then we moved to LED. Today we call it as a 3D or smart. Now we also use the word called as OLED, curved UHD. All these 4K, 8K HD television that transmitted. But this is not my cup of my presentation here. What I am going to take it over here is, if you see the evolution that happened in the complete entertainment industry, this is what the complete figure tells. The invention started with CRT, mass adoption happened when TV was made to reach out to a lot of people. Then VCR was there. Today we see Tata Sky, satellite communication started. Then it got to the digital TV, and today we call it as a social TV. Uh, why I'm coming to this point is today, if you see the number of evolutions that happened in terms of social media network, the biggest drift here that happened was to the internet. In fact, I still remember the days when uh, internet was very costly affair, and the biggest milestone that technology really took over was optical fiber cable. When American Telephones and Telegraph (AT&T) was the first company to lay down the optical fiber cable in the Indian Ocean, and when Europe and Asia was got connected to each other, that was a time where lot of packets were transmitted from one end to another end. And today, the scenario has totally changed. You have Reliance, Airtel, and so many people have built the huge infrastructure into the optical fiber cable. And the way the Geo transformed was the biggest revolution that happened. Today, they have reached out with an optical fiber to each and every household. I think probably in Bangalore, we may see that each and every household is connected with Geo fiber. That is a big revolution what we see. And in the communication media, the revolution that happened was something very, very immense. Uh, uh, Many times we always thought that it was the 3G which really made the revolution, but in the complete Indian IT communication era or the ecosystem, Jio made a huge difference. This was the first company to actually uh, make IP networks in collaboration with Cisco. Basically, if you see the way the networks were designed, either it could be Airtel, it could be Vodafone, whichever that, it was basically designed for the voice communication. Upon that, data was just a supplement over the voice. Whereas Geo flip-flopped it. Geo, what they did is that they made completely IP network. Upon that, voice become a supplement. That's what we call it as voice over LTE. LTE is basically long-term evolution. Why I'm telling this history is that if internet was not there, probably my social media would have been not even exponentially grown. So, dear friends, if you see the way the even the transmission happened, where Cisco and Geo collaborated, and today the revolution that happened, and even I get the internet at very lesser price today, which is comparatively very, very cheaper across the world today. Now, coming out when internet started taking up a shape and internet TV started coming into the market. Today, I see and I spend more time on my mobile and my laptop, even watching my movies. And usually, my videos get streamed out to my laptop and mobile sets more than in my TVs. That's what the case study. So, quite naturally, the data traffic has overshooted the voice traffic. So this is a big change what we see. In the big change today, many people uh, have stopped even going to multiplexes or the movies, and they see that I get my customized movies at to my TV place or my laptop. I can watch. People recommend me what are my tastes, and those movies get listed into my play box, and I play what I like. This is something which has revolutionized. I'm going to speak about a complete case study in how Netflix actually transformed the complete the way the videos are streamed to the different end users. Point. The one thing what really, if you see that what we call the OTT platforms, people know about these OTT platforms, which is the over-the-top streaming. This is one innovative media distribution method that is becoming the preferred option among the viewers. Many times, I think today this platform is so, especially in US, if you see the number of series that comes, it's not on through the channels, it basically comes through the OTT platforms. Even India also, the market has totally become very high today. So we can reach out to as many people as much possible. Viewers watch most ads almost to the completion today. And today the advertisement have become more expensive in the OTT platform. The complete tariff itself has gone high. So 100% viewability, all advertisements run full screen today. If I even am running on YouTube, I see the complete advertisement very specific to my location, very specific to my behavior of what I watch. This is where the machine learning comes over there. I'll also speak about all the things. So multiple devices are there where we need to get into cater the streaming to the device which is using 3G, the device which is using 4G, the device even which is using at higher resolution, because the end user devices or sticks, what we call, they have different resolutions. How they really stream to that? Okay. So these are the few things what we're looking. Today, if you see the complete OTT platform in India, current status and the trend, uh, it's something amazing today. Amazon Prime has taken almost 84.9% of the market share, and similarly with Netflix also around 84, Hotstar, Sony TV. Uh, the is exponential growth that's happening in the viewership of these OTT platforms. Now, where does the Indian audience stream? If you see this data, 49.46% of the streaming that happens is on the mobile. Many times we thought it is on the TV, but it's not true that today, even the video streaming that happens is almost 50% the mobile data that generates or the videos that get streamed is on the mobile. Desktop is almost 8.47% and tablets is around 2.7% and the laptop is around 40%. So it is, we always felt that the viewing that happens is on the TV. No, it's absolutely wrong statistics. So OTT industry revenue generation, if you see the way in last 3 4 years, as per the KPMG survey, it has abnormally taken up very. And what the forecast says is that it is somewhere very by 2024, somewhere we'll able to reach around 621 million rupees business that's going to generate. So how does the OTT technology at the back end works? We have been using a lot of Amazon Prime, uh, we have been using Netflix, but how does exactly it make the difference? So broadcasters usually what they do, they upload the video content to an OTT video hosting platform. It's the first step usually, every broadcaster. So the video host transmits the data to the remote servers via a content delivery network. That's what we call it as a CDN. I'll go in detail about the CDN. Then viewers select the content they want to stream on the user facing the video gallery. They get into the video gallery and check whichever they want, and they go and choose from thumbnails. Then the video player on the device plugs the video content from the CDN server with the internet connectivity. So now, this is somewhere what we need to work is, this is the first phase, usually when Netflix or Amazon Prime is on your mobile or in your TV. This we call it an agent software which gets downloaded when you actually start up with that. So what is the technology behind the top OTT streaming for broadcasters? Professional grade video hosting platforms, variety of tools for hosting, storing, and managing video content, uh, content delivery networks, internet connection, of course. Today, certain videos doesn't even stream without 4G. Now, app with the embedded video players. Today, we also have certain apps which is embedded with the video players and internet-enabled devices. Today, I'll also speak that there are specific devices which are also being invented very specifically for this streaming. If you see the first part, how the professional grade video hosting platforms, what are the different platforms that's been used. If you see, there are online video platforms which are used to allow the users to upload, many times share their videos or live stream their own videos to the internet. I think today YouTube is a very big market. And these can either be for the general public or it can be even to the specific crowd, specific group of people or specific community. You can also use these things where you can share the videos and live stream it. Even in fact, Facebook, when they do their live streaming of certain events, the amount, what is the revenue model for that? This is something, a business model which has been worked out today, and this is a very great success story today. Many people feel that instead of putting out on my streaming onto specific community, I go onto the social media, either it could be Facebook or YouTube, and broadcast it elsewhere. And the way the reach out is something amazing. And the conversion that happens in terms of the business or selling the products with advertisements is a totally different business model altogether today. So we call it as white label. One second. Oh, yeah. So with these white label providers, they basically sell the technology to various parties that allow them to create the service of the core content. Basically, they call it an user-generated video sharing. Uh, this basically, I think people should know about a company called as Akami and other companies host and manage the video, image, and audio for many other companies. Akami is a very popular company today, which they manage the videos of the third party images, audios, and they run on behalf of somebody. Okay? This is another big market. Today, you can also have some companies like Daily Motion Cloud, JW Player, Brightco. These are the few companies which has been popularly been used. So variety of tools are also there for hosting, storing, and managing the video content. How they do that? Basically, this concept was called as VOD. It is video on demand. When computing, I speak about This concept started with cloud computing. Without cloud computing, probably would have not seen the social media market would have not taken shape today, like this what it has taken shape. So it is called as VOD, video on demand hosting platforms, have their own suite of VOD features and additions, but there are few things to look for a quality professional grade. Uh, what is pure video CMS? We have video transcoding, uh, video monetization, white label video players, video privacy and security. So these features actually make it very easier to store and organize your videos and allow the viewers to get access to your content when they are ready to sit down and watch. So I'm just taking few examples here. There are plenty of examples. Let us come to the cloud-based content delivery network. Before starting with content delivery network, let me give, there are few people who have been there with, who are not technically, who doesn't understand what exactly the cloud. I'm looking cloud not from the, as a service perspective, I'm looking from a on demand perspective today. That exactly that feature shoots to your uh, uh, completely OTT platform. So then I'll speak about what is CDN, and now people are speaking about cloud-based CDN. How does this cloud-based CDN add value to the your existing CDN, that is content delivery network? So this is a popular definition about cloud computing. I don't want to usually. This is my very old style. I've been using this for almost a decade back. This was my 15 years back slide. Let me explain this and relate this how it will happen to the my complete video on demand. Uh, this is a definition by NIST, National, is the standardized definition. A model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. For example, servers, storage, networks, applications, and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with the minimal management effort or the service provider interaction. Let me take up an example. Let me explain this complete definition here. It's a model for enabling ubiquitous and ubiquitous. Ubiquitous is basically something which can play to across different platforms. Okay. Convenient, seamless, basically convenient. I can use it out. On-demand network access. On demand, for example, today you have Tata Sky or any other thing. I want to purchase one particular channel. I can pay certain rupees and go and see that particular channel. For example, if India Pakistan match, I don't want to use Star Sports. I want to take up that particular channel for one day. I can pay just 10 or 15 rupees and take up this. So what I have intended to do, only that much I can go and take it up. So it is basically on demand access to the shared pool of configurable computing resources. Let us understand this word, shared pool of configurable computing resources. When I use this word shared pool, that means the resources is been already been there. I use this on a share mode. I mean to say that, for example, today, if you see the where the IRCTC applications or the railway department applications was to hosted in their own data center. And now today we see a complete IRCTC application is running on the cloud. And I still remember a day when I want to book a Tatkal ticket uh, uh, when I at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Whenever I want to get, there's a huge traffic. This comes from action, and I used to keep on seeing the buffering happening, and my booking doesn't happen. So what I'm intended to point is that today this is one basic feature today. Uh, the resources are shared by different people. For example, in my own data center, today Amazon Web Services using for a time zone of India morning, the same resources which is used for India, the same backend resources are used for the some other country at some other time zone. So the same resources has been used. We are not actually having those resources in-house. So that can be rapidly provisioned or released. I'll give another one. Why it is this meaning of rapidly provisioned? Because this also questions. Uh, that's why the reason why a lot of my video OTT platform people are moving on to the cloud, including Netflix. Rapidly provisioned means that assume now. Let me take an example for this. Usually, there's a company called as OnePlus. OnePlus, uh, whenever they want to launch a new product with new version, they usually do it on Amazon retail, and they tell that I'm opening up a window for 1 hour, and any people can come and book it 1 hour. And before that, they would have come out with a huge advertisement at all social medias and print media, and they tell that this is the date and this time at 12 to 1 o'clock I'm going to launch this and people can come and purchase it. Now, assume now so much of traffic they would have estimated through their marketing team that around somewhere around 5 lakh subscribers would come and hit the Amazon website for this particular product. See, the burst of 1 lakh subscribers comes and hit to my website. What is that resources I need to be equipped to actually see that everyone gets the service in that 1 hour? So in case, assume now OnePlus wants to do this activity in its own data center, the amount of infrastructure that they need to they put it something immense for to manage that 1 lakh subscribers coming at that particular 1 hour. They need their capex is very high, capital expenditure is very high. They don't do that. So what they do is basically they give this to any Amazon Web Services for 1 hour. They utilize these resources. This is the elasticity property of the cloud computing. What happens is that as and when the traffic increases onto my website, proportionately the resources at the backend get increased. Basically, we call it as VMs get increased at the backend. This is what we call it as rapidly provisioned and released. I can release after 1 o'clock, another 1 hour. And minimal management effort or a service provider interaction. I'm telling you, Amazon actually doesn't do anything in that. It is the OnePlus company which can actually configure this, whether it wants for 1 hour, whether it wants to 2 hours, how much traffic it is expecting. This is where the cloud computing is all about. Cloud computing should be lived. Why I'm telling all these things is that today, if cloud computing was not there, probably my complete OTT platform or my video streaming would have not happened. So, if I see that there are certain essential characteristics of cloud computing which actually makes the basis for your video on demand delivery. So, few characteristics what I see is that on demand self-service, uh, broadband network access, resource pooling. I will relate this resource pooling mechanism when I was telling about content delivery networks. Rapid elasticity. This is what I told. As the traffic increases, the my proportionately my backend, my resources also increase. And it's a measured service. This is something very, very unique property. I can, when I actually log in and put my application onto Amazon Web Services, I can measure what is the computing resources that has happened. How much? For example, I've used this much of computing resources, this much of my application software as a service. All these things can be measured. So this is something, how much I use, only so much I pay. That's the biggest advantage today. And this cloud computing went as a paradigm shift today. If you see the way the all other people who are want to migrate their complete application from their own data center and get into the cloud. Okay, so I think this is one statement somewhere in 1960s. John McCarthy when in his speech he told that computing may someday be organized as a public utility, just as electricity is organized as a public utility. So how today electricity, Bescom, which comes out and gives your how much you use, how much water you use, like this today computing is just as a utility. So this is the concept basically. Cloud, I am going to take you how basically these features enabled Netflix took a decision to move, shut down their data centers and move on to the uh, Amazon Web Service in spite of Amazon itself being its own competitor. So, what is the advantages when people actually want to move to the cloud computing? Today, if you see that 70% of the budget to keep it IT running, that's what Netflix also took a decision that their business is basically not to build data center. They don't have that expertise. Their basically business was to actually uh, stream the data. So let us concentrate on that. Let us not build the data center. So 70% of the budget to keep IT running and 30% available to create the new value. So that needs to be inverted. So weeks of planning, justification, and deployment, and then they struck it for 5 years. So all we just buy it as a service right now. This is where we are thinking. So many times this has been known that any IT infrastructure uh, uh, it get absolute after that another 3 to 5 years. So I need to again recycle my complete IT infrastructure. So, and another major thing is that most of our legacy application, either if I'm running my banking application still on COBOL, it becomes very unpredictable. So we need to incrementally improve the efficiency without disruption. So that is what cloud gives that flexibility. So new revolutionary IT model is required. Now it is completely globalizing. We are moving out of the aging data centers. There is abnormal exponential growth of data that happened. Today, if we see in 2014, uh, Indian data traffic took over the voice traffic. That's a big change that happened. Uh, I think this happened because of Geo, where they brought and give for 4 5 months complete internet free. Totally landscape changed. They also run completely on cloud. I'll also speak about this one. So the biggest advantage, why I'm telling this is that this is completely these features gets implemented on my OTT platforms also, my video streaming. Your data is replicated 3 to 4 times in the data center. That's a high availability. For example, assume now there is a data center in Japan and the tsunami comes and hits at one instant complete data center gets collapsed. How do I manage or get the redundant of this? Usually what happens when Japan is very prone to natural disasters, they usually have a backup data center at the Singapore. So usually the copy of that data center, it can be virtually maintained at the back end, which if this is not working, instantly some other things also works at the back end. This is how you can actually keep the replicate this data 3 to 4 times. Basically, data is a new oil today. People are behind data. So, and another major thing advantage today, if you see, is that uh, I can add the servers on a click. Just as the traffic increases, just I can see that 3 4 servers computing, storage devices, SAN devices, NAS devices can also be added very frequently without any delay. So this is something which load balancing is so important component even in my OTT also. Uh, Load balancing is one concept where the traffic comes from different zones. Okay. Now, how do I route this traffic? Uh, this is very important uh, feature. We call it as elastic load balancing. ELB is one feature in AWS. This is the reason why even Netflix wanted to move their complete because they didn't had capacity to expand to 200 countries. They thought that let us go with AWS also. So load balancing is one big feature. Whenever there's a severe traffic coming from different CDN networks, how do I actually pull it? So now let us come to the real game, what we call as a CDN, content delivery network. Okay. So content delivery network, today, this is a simple architecture of the content delivery network. I have an origin server and I have a CDN node, and each CDN node, it has certain end users. Okay. Why that is being used? So if you see, one second. Yeah. Uh, Assume now, uh, I what was the necessity of CDN? I'll explain what is the necessity of the CDN. See, when I want to stream a huge file, the huge file is at US. Assume that US, the Netflix server is at US, and there is an Indian customer who wants to view this, and from there, from that server, it actually gets routed through the different routers and the optical fiber that comes onto the Indian Ocean and reaches out to the one server of my internet service provider and reaches out to my end user. Now the question what is here is that the latency that carries for the packet to move from one place to another with a huge distance, it could be bandwidth consumption, it could be the latency jitter that gets added. So the ultimately you need to have, especially if you're sending a 2 hours video uh, where I don't send complete file. If I want to stream this video, it becomes too difficult to actually see the without latency how do I stream it. So that's the reason they came out with a concept called as content delivery network. This is basically certain networks which are deployed at the edges with respect to geographical locations, and it will choose where is that customer, what is the nearest place where I can route the packets through nearest CDN. So from there they will put. They have deployed lot of nodes, CDN nodes, and through their specific locations get routed. For example, in my Amazon Web Services, uh, as a client, if I'm hosting my application, I can choose where which zone I want to choose. Like this is where the machine learning comes. It checks the GPS location, where it is coming from. It will pull the content. The network itself is designed in such a way that the lesser time it will take and the lesser bandwidth it consumes with zero delay, with almost less delay to reach out to the end customer. Fine. This is what the concept of CDN. Basically, by definition, if you go, it's a group of geographically distributed servers that speed up the delivery of the web content by bringing it closer to where users are. Okay. Uh, Specifically, getting content from a central located service to the individual users simply took too long. Okay. So that's the reason they wanted to see that this concept is also basically today when they want to combine CDN with the cloud. I don't know how many people know, but edge computing, cloud computing, many people are feel that why should I be putting my complete data and my application onto the third party? They thought whether it can be at the edge of the computing, not at the premises of third party, either at my premises where it can be there. So these are the concepts that's been getting evolved, and What are the few networks to speed up your website? This was first to speed up. It's the Mac CDN, Amazon CloudFront, Cloudflare, Incapsula, Edgecast, Cashfly, okay, Swamniti, Google App Engine. These are the few CDNs. Now let us come back to the uh, your complete cloud-based season. If you see, there is a bigger change that is happening, dear friends. The complete architecture itself is going to change once uh, my complete 5G core comes into the picture. Today, the huge difference that happens could be uh, the way we deliver or stream the complete data. So today, this was my current FUB model. Okay, and tomorrow we see that probably my complete uh, content delivery, what we call is as in a cloud engines, which we stream the data, it is less than 4 milliseconds from one to one. So the complete landscape is going to change once the 5G comes out. 5G is not just about the speed; it will bring about the seamless communications between the different applications, and people feel that this is going to bring a lot of convergence among the different technologies. So hardly we see there could be any latency in the video streaming. So if I want to actually make it out, if you see the what are the requirements for that? For any video streaming, the recommended megabits per second is basically with a broadband connection of 1.5, standard definition with minimum of 0.5. If it is ultra HD, UHD of 25. So this is a general specifications when I look for Netflix recommends this basically. So yeah, one second. Let me tell about certain. These are very popular. What we call it an embedded video players. Number one is Silverlight and browser plugins. We have HTML5 Premiere Video extensions. Let me explain very interesting technologies which has been used by many of the video players. If you see Silverlight, basically it's like a browser plugin which allows your customers to simply plug and play on the Netflix website and you can watch your favorite movies or TVs. But browser plugins have few disadvantages also. First, customers need to install the browser plugin on their computer prior to the streamer video. For example, for some customers, Netflix might be the only service they use which requires the Silverlight browser plugin. Secondly, some view browser plugins as a security and privacy risk. That is one challenge what we see. Third, not all browsers support plugins. This is one other one problem also. So we need to see which is that what customizes to mine. These are the few advantages and disadvantages of Silverlight. HTML5 Premiere Video Extension. This is another one. This is very popular in recent times. They have been collaborating with other Netflix has been collaborating with other different leaders. Where with three W3 it has been also certified by W3C initiatives. This is standardizing body uh, where they are positioned to solve this problem of playing premium video content directly in the browser without the need for the browser plugins such as Silverlight. Usually, when it comes to the browser plugins, people are scared because uh, uh, whether my history of my viewing and all other things, my privacy is always got interfered. That's the reason people don't want to go with their browser plugins. This is one invention that happened was Premiere HTML5. Basically, people thought this is one extensions they use today. There is also another extension, what we call the medium source. extension. This is called as an MAC. This is also again W3C standards. It will basically allow your JavaScript to generate media streams for the playback. It'll also make you possible for Netflix to download audio, video content from your CDNs, and it feeds into the video tag for the playback. Okay. Many times we also see that, especially when we want to choose the best HTTP server to use the content delivery based on the real-time information, we need to see that I get from HTTP to HTTPS. Your MSC will enable that. It will actually see to it that it goes into your HTTPS. These are the few video players what we see. And coming to your EME, that is your encrypted media extensions. This is also again W3C standard specifications. This basically provides API to control playback of the protected content. Okay. For example, the video content we stream to the customer that's been by the customer with a digital, we call it the DRMs. It's called as digital rights management. Okay. Uh, uh, so this was a requirement for many premium subscriptions video services. People, they want the rights management, my video rights to be preserved. Many times people will also pirate it, take this. How do I do this? So these are the few extensions which has been developed in the technology stream today. For example, another example is that the specification identifies, this specification identifies an encrypted stream format. It's called as common encryption for an ISO file format. Basically, it uses IES 122 counter mode. And this also defines how the DRM licenses, that is your how it can be used, what are the plugins that can be used. This is something which has been also been used. And last, what we call the web cryptography. This is an API web crypto. This is also again a W3C standard specifications. Basically, it's a basic crypto operations in the web applications. Probably, I think you know about such as hashing, signature generation and verification, encryption and decryption of the few things. So basically, Netflix allows this as an API to encrypt and decrypt the communication between the JavaScript and the Netflix services. This is how it will protect. Ultimately, it is used to protect the data from the inception and to is not tampered. So these are the few video players which usually it is supported by Netflix or any other major, including Amazon Prime and all the people. This is one technology. Next was, of course, internet-enabled devices. We need all these things. I don't want to. Let us now look into with the technologies that is used for video streaming and all these things. I told about cloud. I told about CDN. Now let us very specifically understand how Netflix uses cloud computing, how it uses your CDN, how a complete big file is being streamed out. Let us take this case today and very specifically speak on this. If you go back and see where the Netflix, madam, I am audible and all is well. Srividya? Anyone can respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is perfect.
It's a long time I've been speaking. I thought whether people are listening or not.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is audible and it is going on, sir. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you see the history and the growth of Netflix, it is something amazing. The way the way nurtured. In fact, if you want to see, today Netflix has more than around 100 million members worldwide. Somewhere 125 million hours of TV shows and movies each day. Oh my God. See, if you see, including your original documentaries, featured films, all these things. So I don't know how many people are watch Netflix. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Netflix. Many times I feel the quality I get and what I want, it actually sends that recommendation for me. So members can watch as they want, anytime, anywhere, on any device. But I would have watched half a movie on my TV on Saturday. I can watch it on Monday in the evening on my mobile device. See, it is this is way it has gone. Somewhere in the year 2000, the company called as, I think I want to tell this history. There is a company called as Blockbuster. In fact, it wanted to buy a Netflix for just $50 million. But somehow this deal didn't crack it. Uh, Netflix went it by own, and today they crossed such a huge thing. Today, somewhere they are with $87 billion market, and this is how the story creates with respect to Netflix. Uh, eh, and today, Blockbuster company is no more. It has shut its operations. This is the same story. I think people also know about this. Uh, Yahoo wanted to purchase Google for $50 million, and this is what Google wants to give it out. And the bid was very less, and Google thought that okay, we'll test for 3 4 years. After 3 4 years, the complete game itself changed. Today, where is Yahoo and where is Google? These are all the real stories which really makes a huge difference. So, if you see the way today, in 17 years of their growth, it is tremendous. Uh, Netflix is a victim of. I want to tell you here one. In 2008, very precisely, Netflix went with a major database corruption. This is where they took a decision uh, uh, whether I need to move my complete data or my complete video onto Amazon Web Services S3 as a service. Okay. So migrating to AWS in 2008, I am telling about this. Hence, the decision was to utilize other existing services. The cloud was that of Amazon, which offered the company the ability to scale as much as needed. I don't want to read this slide, but I want to tell you here one small thing is that uh, uh, Netflix is not in a business of uh, building a data centers for that. In fact, they were very good in streaming the data. They started basically with selling DVDs for the different people what they like. That's how the company started. Then they started, why can't we stream this data video online after the internet growth? But somewhere when they want to reach out to the large scale across the world, across different countries, the challenge what they see is that their capital expenditure in building so much of data centers. So they thought that let us go with Amazon, which has already has huge amount of data centers deployed across different countries. Then, but the question started: Amazon itself is their competitor. Then how can my technology be deployed there as a competitor? Yes, for that reason, but still they believe this is a best. This is a best case study if someone wants to tell both competitors running on the same technology on the competitors' premises. Yeah. So this is a case study today. They feel that, and even Amazon Web Services have worked very exhaustively to see to it that the complete services of Netflix is delivered with 100% efficiency. So uh, now let us see how exactly backend AWS helps Netflix. What happened is that leveraging the AWS cloud regions across geographical enabled Netflix to dynamically shift and expand their global infrastructure capacity across all countries they are present. This was something a brilliant because Netflix capital expenditure to build data center would have been something very high. So that's the reason they went, and whenever they want to scale it up, it was very easy for them to go and adopt the club. Today, that's the advantage. It is not just about the economical model, but it also, with respect to the operations, also it is very easy. So AWS helps improve the customer experience with the real-time networking monitoring. In fact, Networks is now able to identify new ways to optimize its applications. This is one statement which was told by Netflix senior software engineer. Our solution built on Amazon Kenis enables us to identify ways to increase efficiency, reduce cost, and improve resiliency for the better customer experience. This is the thing. So now let us see what are the technologies, which are the technologies used by Netflix at the back end by AWS. Why and what is the reason? Why the technology is used? There is one technology called as Amazon Kenis Data Streams. Basically, it's called as KDS. It helps Netflix to continuously capture the gigabytes of data per second from hundreds of thousands of its sources, and the data collected is available in million seconds to enable real-time analytics used to store in the Amazon S3. S3 is basically simple storage services from Amazon, and this is one. Netflix also uses AWS Lambda. Basically, what the advantage is that with AWS Lambda, Netflix builds a rule-based self-managing infrastructure and replace inefficient process to reduce the rate of errors and save the valuable time. It is also used for automating your security. This is one of the best features which is very popular in Lambda, AWS Lambda. It allows you to validate that each new instance is constructed and configured in accordance with the rules and situations, and to trigger shut down the violations or notifications of unauthorized instances that appear in their infrastructure. Another one technology which Netflix uses at Amazon at the backend is Amazon Route 53. Basically, it's a complex DNS architecture which is required. Is where AWS S3 helps Netflix. For example, in case of failure or overloading in a particular server or region, Route F3 helps Netflix to quickly and adaptively route the traffic to the different regions. A similar analogy is basically 53 is one feature. It's like our GPS location. Wherever there is a traffic jam in Bangalore, my GPS actually tells that there is another route where you want to take. So they build a separate VPC connect separately on the same network. They route it to some other zones and see that still the efficiency is clearly maintained. So if the traffic comes at all, these are the few features which has been used by Netflix by AWS. Let us come to this point now. How does Netflix stream the data? I think many people know that there is a 2 hours of my file, 2 hours of picture movie. One file is around 25 GB. Assume that if it's around 25 GB, it is not at all possible to stream 25 GB of one particular file at one stretch. Okay. This is where it happens. What it is going to do, I'll explain, and there is an explanation slides at the beginning, but I want to give this to understand this is how the technology works. If my video file is of 25 GB, I will split this video into different chunks. Basically, usually we call it a slicing mechanism. If I split this into different chunks, and I actually do encoding and compression and transcoding. These are the two things what I do. See, for example, I need to have a compression. For example, each chunk again I will compress it and I will do the transcoding and send. Because why I need to do this? You need to understand this. There is a, for example, if 25 GB of one video file, I would have divided this into some megabits, or not today also, not even, uh, let me tell you how they do this. Uh, in fact, it is not an equal distribution of chunks. Previously, even uh, the Netflix is to do that. Down the line, they understood that whenever there is a transition from one chunk to another chunk, there we saw the latency because of the shift. Now, assume now there is a scene in the picture that there is one car overtaking another car, and a inspector overtaking another car, and this is very exciting scene for the people. And at that moment, if the chunk transition happens, immediately the buffering, round buffering starts happening. That is the user experience where they felt, oh my God, this is so important scene, and buffering should not come at that moment. That's the reason they thought that let us not do the equal chunks. We'll not divide into exactly the file into different time zones and divide. They, based on the situations, they started splitting these chunks. For example, if there is a situation where there is some decision making that is happening in the scene, they kept that chunk a very big chunk or small chunk. So based on the scenes also, this is what pre-processing happens at the uh, Netflix. Before they stream the video, they do a lot of pre-processing here. So we never understand this are all technology. That's the reason I think their efficiency is very, very high. And they do the compression and they do the transcoding. So another why they have divided this into high quality, low quality, multiple copies also they do of one particular. Why they do is that because end user device could be of low resolution. For example, if it is my MI phone, the resolution of my screen would be very low. So what they do is that they actually divide like this: high quality with 1080 pixels, low quality with 360 pixels, high quality with 1080 pixels. Like this, they keep on doing segregate multiple copies when they compress and do the transcoding. Then after this, it will go to my S3 instances. It will go to my S3 instance. S3 is basically, again, this is my Amazon Web Services where storage as a S3 is simple storage service. It goes there, and then it will go to my Netflix. This is called as Open Connect boxes. Okay. From there, it will move to the internet service provider site. Today, even my CDNs, content delivery network box, it's a box basically, it's basically a middleware box where there is a software and a hardware which is exclusively by Netflix. This is being deployed at the many of your ISPs also, that is internet service provider. For example, if I'm going my internet to my home, to my TV, or my this one is given by Jio, then probably Jio had in their service provider this Netflix content CDNs. They call it basically they call it an open connect boxes. Okay. They deploy the open connect boxes through from the open connect boxes it will go to the end users. So this is exactly what how Netflix streams the data. So I'm just explaining this and let me conclude certain things. For a commercial Blu-ray 2-hour movie, you are looking at 15 to 25 GB. Serving these users in this format will consume data and bandwidth. So Netflix promotes a series of pre-processing on the original videos to convert them into different file formats. These processing are referred to as encoding and transcoding. So encoding is basically a process where of compressing video and audio files to be compatible with a single target device. That's what I was telling. A target device could be different. One may be iOS, maybe Android, another may be Windows. So this is what encoding is required. And transcoding, on the other hand, allows for a already encoded data to be converted to another encoding format. For example, it is MP4, WLM, MPEG-4. So this process is particularly useful when users use multiple target devices, such as different mobile phones and all these things. What is the reason for processing? many times this asks. So we need to reduce the file size. We need to reduce the buffering for streaming that video. Change the resolution as aspect ratio. Many times different resolutions will be there at the end of our device. I need to change the resolution. Change the audio format or the quality. I need to convert obsolete files to modern formats. Make a video compatible within a certain device. For example, it could be computer or tablet or it could be smart TV, whichever it may be. And make a video compatible with a certain softwares or certain services. Then why do I actually convert 25 GB will take a lot of time. To solve this problem, what Netflix did is that it breaks the original video into different smaller chunks. That's what I told. And using parallel workers, the AWS EC2, it has been done by ECW2. It performs encoding and transcoding on these chunks, converting them into different formats. Sometimes it can go with a resolution of 4K resolution, it also it will do. So 4K, Netflix also creates multiple replica of the same video chunks to cater to the different network speeds. This is also many times that people don't know. If I am actually moving out from 4G to 3G, my Netflix actually adjusts the streaming speed also. So it also learns this decision is also done by the Netflix. So usually, if you see the technical specifications, around 1,300 replicas of video chunks is being done by the Netflix. One video file around 1,300 copies, it will be done. These are the few resolutions and what are the video byte rate for 248 with 300 videos like this. Let us, yeah. Usually, what they will do is that after videos has been compressed and transcoded on Amazon S3, they are then transferred to these open connect boxes during an off period. See, usually what happens, what I will just let me come back to this figure. There are here in this figure, we have CDNs which has been deployed at the ISPs. What will happen is that these ISPs, uh, if there is a picture coming from US, if someone has subscribed and booked it, the complete video has been already been coming to the CDN. Morning at 5 o'clock only, it will get that copy into the ISPs. See, that's the reason the even the video moves, such a huge video file gets replicated at the early time, where 4 a.m. when I'm telling, because it's basically where US is sleeping, India customers are awake. So this is where these are the type of things that have been done. So this is a box of Netflix which sits at the ISP. It is called as Open Connect. It serves in ISP premises that cache huge volumes of video content, which is very close to for example, if it is in Bangalore, they would have multiple boxes which has been different by different service provider. It could be Airtel, it could be Vodafone, it could be any other service provider, internet service provider. Okay, so everything that happens after you hit. Fine, I think I actually, how much time I have, Sridhar madam? Another 10 minutes?
Yes, sir. The schedule is still 1 o'clock, sir.
Yeah, fine. I want to tell you this, let me move out of class. For example, this diagram completely replicates your how the flow of the complete streaming that happens at the back end. For example, if it is your OCS, okay, I assume now there is client, okay, the content that comes from it is this OCS, what we call it, which is then called as Netflix CDN, which has been deployed at the ISPs. This will be keep on checking the health of the routes, learned routes and available files which has been already there. Okay. So the client sends a play request. Here I'm telling the client sends a play request at the backend and running on the AWS. So this request is handled by the AWS load balancer basically AWS, there is another property called as ELB in the AWS that will be handled. So AWS load balancer will forward the request to API gateway, the running on the AWS E2 instance. So the component, there is something called a component called as Zulu, which is built in Netflix, which will allow for the dynamic routing, traffic monitoring, and the security. So the request will be applied to some predetermined filters and correspond to the business logics. Then it is forwarded to the specific API for further handling. So if I see the APIs, API Compo Connect, this is also where several APIs to different user activities. See this figure. So to cut in short, what I was telling is that the backend, which is managed by AWS, and the end, which is a Netflix device, when the client requests, it will keep on checking so easily in the catalog on the thumbnail, which is the thing, and it will pull directly to the client device. So this is exactly what will happen. The same thing. I was telling about Silverlight Player very long back. To cut in short, if there is a Netflix data center and there is a CDN that comes it out, this is my Amazon cloud, and the video chunks that comes directly and it goes from data center and it reaches out. This is one general architecture. So let me pull across a little bit. Let me go forward. I don't want to tell. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. See, the centralizing flow logs that has been used, basically Amazon Kinesis data streams. This is very, very popular. Even Amazon Prime also uses this. I'm just rushing it out because of shortage of time. See, when AWS, there is a VPC. VPC is a virtual private network exclusively built for the Netflix. For example, all my Netflix CDNs are connected on a virtual private network. Okay, and there are EC2 instances for that, and there is a CloudWatch logs. So CloudWatch is basically a measurement tool by AWS, which will measure how much of computing resources is being consuming by each and every instances that is being deployed there. Okay. So this is one figure which actually tells I'm able to see the performance of the application through the CloudWatch. What is the efficiency of that application that has been streamed? That means through machine learning, it is going to check it out. Even each individual, what is the streaming efficiency that has been received by the end user? The customer experience is completely measured. Um, there's a lot of other things that has been done also for that. So improving customer with a real-time network monitoring. This is what I've done. Typical of 1,000 among shared works in parallel to process the data. Netflix is now able to identify new ways to optimize its applications, whether that means moving an application from one region to another or changing to another appropriate network protocol or for a specific type of traffic. Okay. Let me push a little ahead. I want to touch upon these things. How basically AI makes a difference. 5 use cases which is being very predominantly used by Netflix. Personalization of the movie recommendations is completely done by ML. Auto generation and personalization of the thumbnails, artwork, location scouting for movie production. Even it will recommend these are the locations where you can go and shoot. Usually there is a big Netflix itself has a big production unit at the back, and people exclusively produce web series and movies exclusively for the Netflix and Amazon Prime. They also give what are the likes from the people. Okay, this type of analytics is done used on the machine learning, streaming quality, movie editing. These are all done by machine learning. So personalization of the movie recommendations. So if you see that this approach has to knowing which movies to be recommended. Even many times someone would have repeated one situation, one scene, then they would have calculated the behavior of that particular person who has viewed, and based on that, they will actually throw the recommendations. See, this is you watched this, So you may also watch this. Anyway, in YouTube also, when you subscribe and do this, this is how the recommendation. But the algorithm which has been used by Netflix is something amazing today. Uh, Auto generation and personalization of the thumbnails. Uh, See, uh, do we best present that movie recommendation to user in ways that maximize the viewership and the monthly subscription loyalty? So this is again done by the machine learning. How do I actually customize the, how do I tweak the thumbnails with effect? So these are few things that's been done. So how does thumbnails are also created? I want to tell this. See here, this is another machine learning algorithm that is there. For example, I am going to, based on the likes, I have segregated into 360-degree spatial dimension. I do this metrics. It is a Netflix dashboard which they make. Then they categorize this into three X, Y, Z zones, verticals. Pick the one is marked because likes, based on the likes it's been divided. Two like this they put it across, and they make the logical partition of this, and based on that recommendations will go. So this is one of the best way of doing it out. There is a different algorithm that works on the machine learning. In fact, if the people, anyone wants to do the research on machine learning, I want you people to take entertainment industry as a case study today, which is something very bigly happening. Twitter analysis, Facebook analytics, YouTube analysis, even Netflix. How does it do? This is something where you need to go with OTT platform and see. There's a lot of data that can be generated and real-time data can be pulled from the service provider, and we can do a lot of research on that also. So even what happens, see, I want to show this figure. There is a user one and user two. The same picture is given with a different scene to some geography and some other location. User will get like this. Because it's an end user who wants to really check the scene of a bride, and that scene observes, for them the poster gets changed, the thumbnail will get changed when I want to choose. And for a person like me who looks for the Godfather or something, the poster will get changed. And here also, if I want to send this thumbnail to a South African, the poster will get changed. Same movie, like Father, it gets changed. That is the level of customization, spatial GPS location I can look at the specific user behavior, and even my thumbnails also get changed. This is how the recommendations will happen. So, like location scouting for movie production, they will also recommend where all the locations you can actually go and shoot, what people like, what locations. So, decision support systems on dreaming quality, lot of things. Movie editing and production also, they get a lot of analytics for that. So, if I want to conclude, because of I want to leave it early, I'm exactly 1 o'clock. Machine learning solutions can be personalized, the experience for the benefit of both Netflix in terms of subscriptions and the users in terms of overall satisfaction. We'll also see some limitations of algorithms that overdo it, and discuss specific examples in which the Netflix algorithm present misleading thumbnails to the people of color because of algorithm optimized for clicks, effectively tricking the user not clicking bait. Okay, machine learning algorithms designed to exploit metrics will do just that. So it is the role of the product manager to work with design or other team members to find ways to address these deficiencies in algorithms. Okay, so technologies have tendency to prescribe existing AI algorithms solutions, but really the most effective way to adapt AI is the way Netflix did from a business-driven perspective first. I think they were the first people to do that. Fine, I think concluding, let me, any questions? Let me, how to
Okay, any questions from the participants end?
Let me stop sharing.
Yes, sir, you have stopped sharing your screen, sir.
Stop sharing. I don't know why video is not getting. Madam, I think you should give me as a presenter. I feel so.
Sir,
Yeah,
your
and
screen sharing has been stopped, sir. I
and
mean, your PPT
my
is
video
no
is
more visible.
not getting. And my videos not getting enabled. Okay. Yes, any questions? Let me see if there are any questions on the chat box, madam.
Yes, sir, I'll just check. Uh, I think no questions, sir. They've not asked any questions.
Fine.
Yes. So thank you for a wonderful session, sir. It was very insightful. We understood how ML applications can be used in Netflix recommendations and personalization. That this an era of AI ML, even in content delivery networks, how AI is being used. We really got a wonderful insight into that. Thank you for a wonderful lecture. It was we were really privileged to have you with us today. Thank you very much, sir.
I don't know how many participants left. Is that all participants available?
Whoever were there from the beginning, they're here, sir. Uh, since it is online, everybody is very passive. That is the problem.
I think there is some chat box. It was a nice case study. Finds Suvarna Patel. What I'm looking is that my humble request to all the teachers here. I don't know if there are teachers. Kindly take everything as a case study. Usually, when we started teaching curriculum putting almost 10 or 15 years back, we used to take certain cases either on Amazon Web Services, either on any of these, either on Azure or whatever it may be. Uh, uh, Somewhere, if you put a case study, people will understand how that same concept is being implemented as a feature from a user perspective or from a technological developer perspective. This is what Open Connect. That slide was missed. That box we were talking about. Yeah, yeah. I run very fast because of shortage of time. Uh, Open Connect is basically a CDN box of Netflix. I want to tell you, Netflix streams this data through this box. Okay. This is basically, it's like it's the streaming data. They have their own patented algorithm and all the stuff inside that box. They deploy this box at the ISP service provider and their own data center. There is two parts here. Open Connect is with the Netflix. AWS is at the back end. Okay. Managing the load balancing between CDNs boxes is managed by the AWS. That is exactly is all about. Content delivery network streaming is done by Netflix. Managing at the back end, all these things, storing, computing, sliding, all these things is done by the Amazon Web Services at the back end. Front end streaming is done by Netflix. Hope I answered. Madam, shall I just disconnect and come once again to the same link? Because I don't know, I want to shoot up. Where is this? So how whether my video is not taking or Robinson?
Yes, sir. Your video is not enabled.
Okay, fine. Let me just. Madam, shall I log off and log in once again and come back? Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Want any
Sure, sir.
pic of you need to pic to show to AICT? No, I want to tell
Yes, sir.
you
We were
once
hoping
again.
for a video enabled. Yes,
Okay,
sir. Please.
I'll do
Yes.
one thing. Just I'll shut down and I'll log out and I'll log in once again. Let me see. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Madam, it is taking as a guest.
Yes, sir, because this is within the domain of.
Now you see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Video is enabled.
Yeah, fine. I think if people don't have questions, we'll close.
Yeah, I think that's it, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
people
you, sir.
can reach me at, madam, type down my email ID on the chat box.
Yes, sir. Please tell me, sir.
I'll type down. Yeah, if someone is having any sessions you require anything, kind reach out to me. Srividya is my PhD student. You can reach out to her also.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
Done. Fine, madam. Let us conclude.
Yes, sir.